Jay Massey is a full-time real estate investor. He's an entrepreneur.
He also teaches people how to find deals, raise capital for real estate investments.
Meeting Jay Massey in person, you'd think he's just a regular guy. He's got jeans and a t-shirt on and a pair of sneakers. But he's built up a multi-million-dollar empire.
I hope you do have an empty notebook because it's going home filled.
Jay gives back so much value that I've never seen.
Now, at this moment, when I'm looking at the kitchen, things are going through my head.
You want to be friends with him, and he treats you like you're the only person in the room, even though it's for the benefit of everybody.
This is how, when you ask yourself, how does Jay do it? This is how.
He tells people that they have to take action, and they have to take action now. I took the action, and the results have paid off.
What happens when the marketplace understands who we are and how we go out there?
How are you guys doing today? So hopefully things are going well so far. And do me a favor, for those of you watching for the first time, go ahead in the chat right now, right now. Go ahead and type the word news so that I know that you are here, because I want to make sure that, yes, that you are acknowledged and congratulated, and all of the things that it takes to be here, to be participating, and I'm going to say participating in your own rescue, because that's exactly how I look at what we do. We get the privilege here over at Cashflow Diary of helping individuals become bigger, better, badder when it comes to building their own income and making their life different. So for those of you who, again, are joining us for the first time, hi, my name is Jay, CEO of Cashflow Diary, and what we do is rather straightforward. We help you build your cash flow, leveraging things like real estate, leveraging helping you build cash flow with things like short-term rentals, if you will. So what it comes down to is that we've had the privilege of doing so for quite a number of years, and now we're just we're continuing to do exactly that. So in the month of August, I'm missing something. Where'd everybody go? Did I hit the wrong button? There you are. I lost you guys for a second. I literally couldn't see. I'm assuming you guys could see me, so that probably looked very strange. But for a second, I could not see any of you at all. So that was pretty. That was pretty strange. Anyway, as I was saying, we here at Cashflow Diary have had the privilege of helping individuals build their cash flow now for, I don't know, a good number of years. We like doing it. And that's hopefully why you're here today, is to do a part of that, is to build your cash flow in some way, shape, or form. So today we are going to be talking about very specifically the future of short-term rentals, because some could believe, because of things like COVID and travel being way down, etc., that short-term rentals might be on their last leg, no leg, some leg, who knows. In fact, if you are willing to admit that part of the reason that you're here is because you're like, hey, yeah, let me find out if short-term rentals are on their last leg, give me a thumbs up right now in the chat. A thumbs up is completely fine. I would definitely appreciate that. All right. Let me see. I still see, who's this? Jonathan Valentine. Excellent. Jonathan, thanks for showing up and thanks for typing new. Glad that you are here. Hopefully, we'll do our best to give you some quality information. And most importantly, today, because we're talking about the future, I'm going to introduce you to a resource, or some of you to a resource that I use quite frequently. And in fact, a lot of the individuals in the hospitality world use, so that they can stay on top of exactly what's going on. All right. So let's keep this party going just a little bit. 1, 2, and 3. All right, perfect. So as it relates to building short-term rentals, I want to first just say and explain for anyone who's new, like Jonathan, what a short-term rental looks like and why that might be a little bit different. What I simply mean is it's a way of leveraging real estate so that instead of buying the whole thing, someone is using it for a defined shorter period of time. Instead of leasing the entire apartment or building or house or land or what have you for 365 days, you're doing it in smaller increments. And because of that, you're doing lots of turns. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be hard to do those things. It does mean, though, that it has to be done. What I want to illustrate really quickly for you is that it's a industry that is dependent on travel. But I guess the better word is mobility, because sometimes when I say travel, people think, or only can think, that means by default that if an airplane, or if I can't travel internationally or something, that therefore the business does not work. Now, with that being said, okay, that does not mean it's not been incredibly easy during this entire time. In fact, I tell you what, if you'd like, what I can do one of the sessions, because one of the sessions this month, what we can do is I will go through what is a 5-step process. It's only 5 steps, but it's a 5-step process that you can use in order to pivot any business. But it'll be the 5-step process that we implemented here to pivot with not only with ourselves, but also with our students. Because again, one of the things that I care about is being a practitioner of the things that I talk about. So that means in my world, we do this every day, as in there are people who are staying with us today. There are people who will be staying tomorrow, and over and over and over again. It's not... Sorry, it's not something I used to do. It's not something I thought about doing one time. It's not anything other than this is what we do, and then we teach it as well, if that makes sense. So if you want to know how to pivot any business, should any sort of crisis or emergency happen, I need to see some sort of something in the chat. That way I know that that's something you guys are interested in. But for today, when we're talking about the future, okay, one of the ways to, I guess, prognosticate, not that, again, I don't have no crystal ball, but I'm going to do my best, because when you're looking at the news headlines, you're seeing stuff like, well, this is what you're seeing if I'm not mistaken, right? You're seeing stuff that looks like this, where you're like, man, nobody is going to be able to do anything because everybody's losing revenue. Now that's true. Okay, but that is also not, and does not mean that that's the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. Now, it's not great, but it's also part of it. All right, one of the best sites, in my opinion, that you can go to, this is their ad. I don't want their ad up here. Just want you to see the site. Well, I guess they're putting that ad as the top banner now. Anyway, it's a research site called Skift, S-K-I-F-T, just like you see. And on this site, what happens is they do lots of surveys. They'll do the extra research. They'll compile that research. There is a very good free section as well. But for those of you who have an interest in continuing to build your understanding either of business or hospitality or just in general, this is definitely a site that I prefer and I like. And then they also have a podcast as well, which, let me see if I think if I clicked it right. Yep. So they have that, which, you know,
Good
easy
morning,
listening,
Bronx.
whatever.
It's
You
Monday,
got
August
it.
10th in
You get
New
the
York
idea.
City.
My point is, it's just a way to take in more information, so that you have the ability to stay on top of the industry and some things that are going on. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I'll take this site or sites like this and scroll through them to come up with and see, you know, what changes, if any, do we need to make? Because being able to understand those potential changes is, well, mission critical. In fact, write this in the chat. It is the letters, you can get ready. D as in David, I, and then the letter P. DIIP. This is, in fact, a perfect time to go through this. All right, DIIP. What that stands for is data to information to interpretation, and then the P is for process. It's what I call the DIP process. I know that's repetitive. It's like ATM machine, but you get my point. All right. So what I do is that I like to look at information like this so that we can try to understand, what does this really mean? I mean, because it is my opinion that news outlets or information or things of this nature, they often give you data. And if they're not giving you data, they give you information, but they never take the next step. The next step is, okay, cool. Now what do I do with it? How do I leverage this to help my family? I mean, thank you for taking the time to tell me, but why does it matter, right? Like, really, why does it matter right now? And in fact, it may not matter at all. So, yeah, but I want to know what I need to pay attention to and what I don't, if that makes sense. All right. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through a couple of things. I'm going to show you some charts and whatnot, and we're just going to take a dip and see what we can see about the future. All right. And where did that go? Okay. So when we're looking at this, that's right. One of the new things that I now see that they have here that they did not have before, which I'm kind of excited about and also kind of nervous about, because it's like, ooh, what does that mean now that these things are here? Is that they have a new health score. So basically, they're assigning, you know, using their own methodology, and you can read that right here below. But they're assigning their own methodology to how this score is determined, and you can pick a corporation, and it'll give you a score. Now, this is pretty funny that something like this is necessary right now, if you think about it. And again, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just literally scrolling up and down. I'm not even looking at what names I'm clicking on. But the point is, you have the ability to begin to gather some data, not just industry-wide, because that's what they were doing, but also based on particular companies. It looks like they're covering most of the public companies, which obviously makes sense. And then this is the recovery index, which we've continually looked at from week to week to week on some of our sessions, because, well, it's good to know where you are. And where we are is nowhere near where we were. And that's basically what this is saying. It's on a scale from 100 down to 0, 100 being last year or this time last year. And relatively speaking, we're at 40. Yay. Although, hey, you can say, or at least we're not back here at 16. Awesome. So compared to 16, yeah, this is better, but not by much, if you get my meaning. So keep that in mind as we continue to go through. So one of the most important documents that they produce. Oh, here's some of the other companies that you get that use them as well, which is again one of the reasons why I like them. But I want to take you through. There it is, the travel tracker. All right. So what they do is they will produce what they call a travel tracker. Now, the one for, let me see, we are now in August. Okay. So we're waiting for the travel tracker for July, but it probably won't be here till the middle of August. So hopefully maybe sometime later this week. I don't know. It'll get here, but I want you to know about this because again, this is something that can and does give you insight as to some of the things that are going on when it comes to, hey, what's up inside the industry. And I just want to point some things out and take you through the dip process one good time, and then I'll set you free to move about the country, I guess, so that you can then take this process yourself and apply it to whatever business that you're looking into, or however else you would like to build your cash flow. So hopefully, I think a number of you would find that helpful. So let's do that. Give me 1 second here. There we go. And all right, so I needed something to listen to while I do this for myself. All right, so with that being said, here we are. This particular, let me make it a little tiny bigger. Did that help? And there we go. All right, so what they do is, again, they try to summarize the month, and then they give you some ideas of what you'll learn. But what I want to do is I'm going to skip down to some of these charts already, because what they try to give you an idea about is, compared to or relative to or this far year to date is basically what we're talking about here. As is in general, all they're trying to say is something in this case is that, hey, travel is looking up, or was looking up, because again, this is lagging. These are all lagging indicators, meaning it's already happened, and ta-da! So yay! With that, it's saying as of the end of June, travel was looking up. Now, when those of you who were around earlier in July when we went through this, I said something very. That's clearly very true, is that there were a lot of states at this particular time who were just beginning their, I think they called it a de-opening. I don't remember, but you get my point. So, the idea here, though, is simply that what travel was going up, but is it still? Does that make sense? Remember, this is a lagging indicator. Okay, it's not a leading indicator, but that's definitely a lagging. My suspicion is when we get the July report, it'll be going back down. Now, this also, for those of you who were around in March and April, we were talking about how the people who do travel, what they would be traveling for, why they would be traveling. Oh, and did I cut too much of it out? Is that most of the individuals leisure travel. For those of you who don't know, leisure travel is always the first type of travel to return in any sort of a crisis situation. So that's what we've got here. Again, it's just it is. Again, the data is supporting what we already suspected to be true when we looked at things like SARS and the swine flu and all the other stuff that has happened to travel in the past. Now, this is the part that I get the most excited about. Is what is happening is that there is I'm gonna call it a shift, a consumer habit change. I don't care what you call it. I can tell you what I call it right now. It's a reason to keep going to get more units. And that's exactly what I've been, I don't know how long I've been saying this, but I keep telling everybody, get more units. Get more units. And sometimes people are looking at me funny, like, what are you talking about? And this was one of the first actual surveys that were done, independent, third party, that type of thing, that supported what I said was going to happen and what I believed was true. And again, you can go look up the live streams. I'm telling you, go get more units. And this is just the beginning. And in fact, I don't know if you guys caught it, but there was was it MSNBC? Let me see. I might actually be able to find it because this is the internet. There was an MSNBC an MSNBC with Expedia. No, I spelled that wrong. So there was an MSNBC with Expedia and with Booking Holdings. Both of them And they both, well, they actually did Airbnb, they did Expedia, and then they did Booking. And all of them were saying the same thing. But they didn't say it as directly as I am saying it, right? What they were saying was, hey, our numbers are down, except the one area which they called alternative travel, or specifically alternative accommodations, aka short-term rentals, like across the board. And it was like, yes, that's exactly the stuff I'm talking about. I get excited about stuff like that because it is confirming what I suspected to be true, especially as it relates to this entire COVID situation. My point here, though, you know what? Let me do one more. I'm gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna show you. Here we go. This one, because it's this one is. Let me see. Because I wanna give you one particular data point. I want to show you one particular thing because this actually matters, or sometimes it can be hard to figure out what do I do with this information, right? And longer term battle. Did I miss it? Ah, yes, there it is. Yep, there it is. All right, so charts like this, for some of us can be like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with that, and why does it matter? Why did you take the time to make this chart? This chart right here, for example, and for those of you, in fact, if you are brand new, pay attention. This is your chart. This is if you're like, okay, cool, I like the idea of short-term rentals, and I want to build cash flow and all this fancy stuff you talk about, Jay. What do I do, right? This is your chart, okay? I want you to pay attention to me right now. This chart, let me tell you basically what it is helping you to see. This chart is helping you to see where, for the next little while, we need to be positioning our short-term rentals. Here's what I mean. People ask me all the time, hey, Jay, what's the right, what do they say? What do they call it? What's the best location? What about this duplex? What about this blah, 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 blah? Right now, as you can tell, the data even supports. Okay, so see, here's the data point. The data point is July 2020, saying that people who are traveling, they will travel less than 100 miles away from home and by car. That's the data point. Does that make sense? And as we keep going, we can see that number has been pretty high since the whole COVID thing started and the airplane started, all the stuff, okay? So that shouldn't surprise us. But what do I do with it? Because it's just a point of data. Same thing here. If they are traveling more than 100, they're still gonna go by car. And what it's really saying is that people are not going to be using the airplanes. Okay, how does that help me? Two ways. Number one, the first way is to understand that because they're not going to be going by plane, that means if you are located in what is called a tertiary, that's level 3, tertiary marketplace, you might want to consider an alternative strategy. How do I know if I'm in a tertiary marketplace? Thank you for asking. One, if you have an airport, okay, an airport that says international in the title, you don't have to worry about that. You're in a primary market, so carry on. But for those of you in a tertiary market, what that simply means is it is nearly impossible to get to your location without a plane change. There's no directs. So you always have to travel somewhere else first, then you get the main plane to the place you're actually going, okay? Those of you in a tertiary marketplace, it doesn't mean short-term rentals isn't going to work. It means you need to be looking way more regional, way more local, with one exception. If you happen to be near something that people would want to visit. I think back in April, I started talking about how individuals, what was going to happen is that people were going to rediscover America. They're going to get in the car. And if you are in your Philadelphias, if you are in your Washington, D.C.s, if you are in your Grand Canyon State, sorry, couldn't remember where that was. Anyway, if you were in one of those places, that's something, if you were in or near within that 100-mile radius, especially, you had a great shot at being able to build some good revenue this summer because they're coming. They're all coming to you. In fact, they're only coming to you because they're not looking for, they can't come to Disneyland, right? It's going to be a different experience than what they are used to. And it still may be this way for a little while more. And then that's okay. It's just what it is right now, ladies and gentlemen. But see, that's data. When they're reporting this, they're just giving you the data. Maybe they're giving you some context from time to time, maybe not. But at the end of the day, it is your job to take this data, assimilate it, turn it into information, i.e. take these data points and turn them into at least one sentence. And then B, after you've turned them into at least one sentence, do your best to then determine what actions can you take, okay? Data points, or the DIP process has served me quite well. The newspaper is one of the best lead generation sources. If you haven't tried it, I strongly encourage you to do so because it's just great. Just works very, very well and has worked for years, in my opinion. So hopefully that's something that you can see now. All right. Now, as we wind down, I'm going to scroll through the chat here, looking for your comments, questions, and thoughts, and see what we've got. Let's see what we got. We got, where'd it go? Jeremy says, welcome to LEDA. Yep, that's right. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Appreciate that. What is Mary's mobility, not simply travel. Important distinction. Yes. If we were under house, what I was going to say house arrest. That's not the word. Whatever that thing was when we were house thing. Yeah. Where we couldn't go nowhere. You know, it is what it is. And Daryl, how are you from Vegas? I appreciate that. Data. Yep. We've got the DIP process going. And yes, perfect, John. I'm glad you said this. He said time block before you go on Skipped. You can easily spend hours there. He ain't lying. You be there all day and you be like, I did nothing whatsoever. And then yes, thank you, Mary. The word is quarantine. I don't know why that word escaped, but it totally did. Anyway, there's many use cases when it comes to the short-term rentals, but the point for today is just to understand when you're looking towards the future, it helps to look towards the past. Looking towards the past means I now have to take in the whole the DIP process to be able to figure it out. What every research report that I have read thus far has stated in one way or another is simply that people are preferring more isolated stays. They don't want to be touching the elevator buttons. They don't want to be crowded. All of this other stuff. Hotels are having to reconfigure. I'm starting to see some things from architects now about how they're going through space planning and redesigning one-way halls, all kinds of interesting things. But all of it results in less capacity. So those of you who are out there thinking about the idea of, hey, do short-term rentals work? The answer is yes. And I think we've got a little bit of a runway, guys and gals. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to continue to play out. And for those of you who want to keep picking up what we're putting down, understand that in the month of August, we're going live every day at 9 a.m. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit that like button for sure. And if you are that person who's like, man, okay, I'd like to, take some more next steps, just go ahead, go to cashflowdiary.com/playbook. Again, cashflowdiary.com/playbook. It's a free playbook on how to get started in short-term rentals that we put together for you. So, What is this, Donald? Please say again what the letters DIIP stand for. No problem. It is for data, because that's typically what you can find. You can find a whole bunch of data, right? But you don't always know what to do with the data. Well, what a newspaper will often do is take data and turn it into information. Now, information in and of itself can, the same information can be said multiple different ways to create a completely different perspective and or feeling, right? So that's the whole, hey, that cup is half empty. No, it's half full. Either way, the same amount of water is in the cup. And they'll take that data point and turn it into an information, usually a sentence or a paragraph or so. The key point for you as an entrepreneur is to go the next step, which is to turn the information into action, which is your interpretation. And that's one of the reasons I like research reports, is because it gives me insight. And I know most people don't think about taking action on them. They just read it and then they collect the knowledge. And it's like, cool, that's where they stop. So hopefully that helps, Don. We'll keep going. Oh my, there's lots of questions coming now. I get amused when people warn about taking local, regional guests. That's probably who is coming. Yeah, exactly. That's all who's coming right now. We are going to be the United States. For those of you outside of the United States, I'm sorry, I totally spaced on addressing you guys until just this moment. Anyway, I know that you guys have some different situations going on. Some of you are more open than others. You do actually have some travel, but in some cases you've got 14-day quarantines on both sides. It just kind of depends, right? And yes, local regional travel is what it's going to be, especially for you tertiary marketplaces. You should have already been planning, but if you haven't, start planning now for sure. What's this? This cottage market, right? So again, if you can create I'll call it a unique experience, a unique, isolated experience, the better. Because right now, it's like the safe thing to do. I gotta go do something, and I want to be safe when I'm doing it. What was that? I think it was Tahiti. And oh God, there was another place that I'm thinking of over in Southeastern Asia area. Anyway, they were literally marketing their entire islands and hotels and resorts just straight to the billionaires. It was like, look, if we're going to take a risk of anybody coming, we're going to make sure you have a lot of money when you come here. And there's a lot of interesting things that are happening right now in the whole short-term rental world. So just keep saying. All right, I'm trying to create a PowerPoint presentation for capital investors, and I need some data points to work from. Okay, does Skift still have a deal for subscribing? Is there any specific data that I should be looking to convince investors? Ooh, okay. It says Facebook user, so I'm assuming you're in one of the groups. What am I going to say? You're not going to like my answer, but I'm just going to be, again, so for those of you who don't know me, welcome. What I do is that I'm a very direct kind of individual. And sometimes I'm just gonna shoot you straight. All right, so first and foremost, there is no such thing as convincing investors. So just let that go. It is definitely not about convincing. You diagnose, then you prescribe. We can do that another day. Skift has a significant amount of data points, but those data points don't really, I don't know that they'll help you unless you understand what I said before, which was diagnose, then prescribe. I think they're special though on the whole, on their subscriber special thing. I know what you're talking about. I think it's gone. Let me see. They may, you know what? They may maybe they give out a referral link. I have no idea, to be honest. I just don't know. Tell you what though, send an email over to info@cashflowdiary.com, and if we can find anything for you, we'll definitely send it over there to you so that you can get a deal. But Skift is one place that I like. Another place that I like, that is for data, and is a place called Statista. Now, it's not cheaper. That's all I'm going to say. All right, it's not less expensive. Okay, but they also have some free level information as well. But again, that between those two places and the news and all the reading that I do is pretty much how I can assimilate enough information to try to understand what the playbook needs to look like right now and into the future. So it's so hopefully that helps in some way, shape, or form. All right. Let me see what else we got. Jay, people are preferring more isolated states because they don't want to put up with it. Yes, exactly. Well, okay, so I didn't go through, I'm not sure who this one is or how it comes anonymous from YouTube, but here's what I will say. People are preferring more isolated states, but it's not necessarily because of the hassle that, or perceived hassle, that people are putting them through. We did a different report. Actually, it might have been in this one. Let me go find it for you. In this particular, in the same one that we were just looking at today, inside this report, what did I do? I did something. Oh, I double clicked something that I didn't mean to double click. There we go. So inside this same report, one of the things, let me show you really fast. There was a group of individuals, very specifically, because they did them by demographic, or maybe it was a prior one. Yeah, okay, sorry. It was not, I guess it wasn't this one. So there was two particular groups that were dominating the travel and travel preferences. It was single parents with children under the age of 18 and marrieds with children under the age of 18. What was happening is there's an overlap of concern related towards the possibility of infection, which is, and when you combine that with I'm traveling with kids, more space, those two things overlap to create a greater demand for someone who could actually have more space. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure traveling is very inconvenient right now, and traveling with children has always been inconvenient in the first place. So this did not help. All right. If that makes some sense. That makes some sense. All right. Wow. Lots of questions today. I'm loving it, guys. I'm loving it. Let me see. This is based upon my experience. Yeah, in Toronto. Welcome, Jason. We have a number of students up in your area of Canada. And what's cool is, yes, these preferences, this stuff that we study, is based upon being a human. I mean, and that's one of the best parts about this particular business model. It's not because you are, I don't know, in the US or in one particular place, or you speak a certain language. It's, hey, people like roofs over their heads, and that's cool. All right. So, I agree. Cottage country north of Toronto is book solid. I keep asking myself, why I don't? That's a good question. I mean, I think many people are going to be asking themselves that over time, but hey, it is what it is. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hanging out again with us today. We will be back tomorrow. Let me see if I can, I might actually be able to tell you what we're talking about tomorrow if I can find the schedule real fast and go back. Yep. So tomorrow we will be discussing, what is tomorrow? Is tomorrow the 11th? This month seems to be flying. For me, it's flying by. We're going live every day. So maybe for you, it's going a little bit slow. Actually, I'm showing tomorrow as an open day. So I don't know yet what we'll be talking about tomorrow, but I'm telling you this, it'll be around cash flow. Could be around all the questions that you submitted, because some of you, if you did submit a question, we'll definitely get that on air tomorrow as well. And again, if you still have time while we're still live right now, you can go to cashflowdiary.com/ASK. Please use complete English when you submit a question. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't play. you know who you are. And if you have a really good question, what we'll do is that we may even go so far as to bring you on live with me so we can talk about it. So if you want to get more notifications about when we're going live and what we're up to right now, you can go to cashflowdiary.com/live. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely appreciate the time, the attention, and hopefully you learned something today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.